again, and welcome to another episode of Paul's Garage. Today we're going to have a look at my 1968 R1135 Gordini. This car is a Renault, of course, and it's an Australian built Gordini. There were 60 1135s built in Heidelberg in Victoria, and this is one of those cars. Now, some say that I bought the cheapest Gordini in Australia. Well, that's true. However, it didn't look anything like this. It looked more like this. This car had a 4-year restoration. I did all the work myself. Some of the panels I had professionally repaired and painted, but basically the car's all my work. Now, this car has got period mag wheels on it, 13-inch cosmic wheels. They originally came out with 15-inch wheels. So on the highway, it's probably not as good with the top end speed, but it gets there just a little bit quicker with the 13-inch wheels. Now, Gordini was employed by Renault back in the 60s. Ahmed Gordini, or also known as Lee Sorcerer. Now, he was an engine tuner. He did build some cars, race cars, early in his career, but he was given the job of making some very fast Renaults to go racing. He started off with the Dauphine, then moved to the R8 in 1134 form. Now, the 1134 only had 2 headlights on the front and an 1100 engine. He then made the 1135, where he put the 2 extra headlights on, a little bit more body strengthening, bigger engine, additional fuel tank, just to make the car go a little quicker. From the 1135 he did the R12 Gordini, and then there was the 17 Gordini, which I don't think he had a great deal to do with. And then later in years they did a Clio Gordini, which of course had nothing to do with Ahmed Gordini. So that's the car. Here, as you see it, we'll have a bit of a walk around and a bit of a drive a bit later. So here we are in the cabin of the Gordini. The car comes complete with a nice sports steering wheel, a tacho, speedo, temperature gauge, amp gauge, or a battery condition gauge, and a fuel tank. Now, the fuel tank can be changed from front to rear using this switch here, and there's a tap on the floor here to manually change them from front to rear. Also has a choke. Now, when this car was new, the owner optioned it with a glove box lid, because most Gordinis don't come with a glove box lid here. So he had an option with a glove box lid and with chrome gutter rails. Now, the seats in these cars, they're a low back bucket. They're very comfortable. They do slide forward, and then the back folds down and will fold down into the back seat, and it will make a double bed. Some people call it a camping body. I don't know whether that's quite true, but it was very handy as a young fella back in the 80s, going to the drive-in movies with the girlfriend. You could make this into a double bed. You could sit up the back, good view of the screen, and very comfortable place to be. I've got a fire extinguisher in here as a just in case. It has a 2-speed heater, which works very good, but only single-speed wipers. In the back, not a great deal for passengers, not a great deal of room with the seats back as they are. Put the seats forward, there's a little bit more room, but 2 adults, 2 children, in a standard form R8 or R10, plenty of room. So here we are in the boot of the car. Not much of a boot to speak of. mainly due to the additional fuel tank that was put into the 1135. That fuel tank is basically, with slight modification, straight out of an R4 Renault. So the only thing really in here is the fuel tank, the battery, and the brake booster for the four-wheel disc brakes. Now in the boot here, we got the various body tags over there, which tells you what the car is, gives you the numbers and everything. And it also has a stamping here, which is a 3/6, which will tell any Gordini enthusiast that it was the sixth car built in the third batch, which makes it a Moyen blue car. This car is not painted in Moyen blue. I wasn't a fan of the dark blue. My previous Gordini was Moyen blue, so this is painted in the lighter colour of Cairns blue, which was the first two batches of cars. So that's it in for the boot. Oh, the only other thing is, as I may have said before, the car's had 7 owners. I've spoken to all those owners, and one of the owners, I think about the 4th owner, when I was speaking to him, said he had the original tool roll and tools for the car, which he graciously gave me to keep with the car, which is handy because I have all the documentation, receipts and everything else from when the car was new. So when these cars were built, they weren't the average Joe couldn't buy one. Excuse me, you had to have a CAMS license or be sold, or a rally team, because they wanted all these 60 cars rallied. This one was sold to a private owner from Seymour's in Roseville back in 1968, and I believe, as the story goes, that the salesman who sold that car got into a fair bit of strife for selling it to a non-CAMS racing licence holder. He may have even been sacked. The owner couldn't remember whether he just got into the shit or whether he was sacked. So here we are in the engine bay of the R1135. As you can see, it's fitted with the standard bore size 1255 Sierra design engine. Has Webers, twin 40mm DCOE Webers, a set of extractors, and an oil cooler as standard. As I said earlier, it does have 2 fuel tanks, one in the front, one in the rear. This is the filler for the rear tank. Not really in the best of places to have it. However, that's it there. The car is also fitted with electronic ignition to get away from the unreliable points. Now these cars were quite quick in their day, and they were sold specifically as a rally car or a race car. 1973, one of the cars raced up at Mount Panorama at Bathurst. That car was eventually sold to a fella who did own this car at one stage. He rolled that car at Catalina Park, and the wheels that were on that car and the gearbox and diff that were on that yellow car that raced up in Bathurst are now in this car. So I guess it does have a little bit of racing history, but albeit only in the gearbox. Also, 1970, the Gordinis won the Australian Rally Championship under management and driven by Bob Watson. The cars were engineered by Bruce Collier in Marylands, in New South Wales. So, they have had their fair share of successes, not only on the worldwide rally scene, but also locally in Australia, and of course with Bruce Collier driving the state cars in New South Wales as well, not to mention Victoria. So out of the 60 cars that were built, there's only a handful left. If you want to buy one of these cars, good luck. They don't come up for sale very often. They normally change hands, within the clubs. And for a good one, you're looking anywhere between, I guess, $35,000 to $45,000, $50,000 these days. They are an appreciating classic. So hopefully when I retire, this forms part of my my retirement fund. It'll be worth a couple of dollars, and I'll be able to live comfortably on the sale of it. So that's about it now. So from looking around the car, so let's go and hop in and take it for a spin. So here we are out on the road with the Gordini. Nice fun little car to drive. Inside the cabin we have a nice sports steering wheel, quite a large sports steering wheel, no power steering of course. It's fitted with single speed windscreen wipers, which in a big downpour, yeah, they're not much chop. It has a speedo of course, and a tacho, which have been rebuilt when I did the restoration, but I don't think they're all that accurate. Also has a temperature gauge, an amp gauge and a fuel gauge. The fuel gauge has a switch on the dashboard to switch the tank from front to rear, as it has two fuel tanks. It has two fuel tanks because this is the second variation to the R8 Gordini, the first being the 1135. And the 1135 had an 1100cc engine, sorry, the 1134 had an 1100cc engine with twin Solex side draft carburetors. The 1135, which is what this model is, has a 1255cc engine with twin 40mm DCOE wheelers. So it uses a little bit more fuel, so they decided to adapt a secondary fuel tank in the front, which is basically a fuel tank straight out of an aftermarket Renault, but it works quite well. So there's a switch on the dashboard to change the gauge, and near the gear lever there's a switch on the floor just next to the choke. So as a daily driver, I'd say no. It's a car to get out and have a little bit of fun in. It freely spinning little Sierra designed engine, and with its 5-speed gearbox, you know, it's just a great little thing to drive. It is like any rear engine car, where the engine's hanging out over the back axle, handles very well, goes around corners like a brick, until you push it past the point of no return, let's say, where it'll end up putting you backwards if not over on its roof. Back in the 80s when I used to rally an R8, I put a 16 TS engine in it and had it out of Oran Park, and I did exactly that. I pushed it just a little bit too hard, and before I knew it, I had the car on its side. So that's it for driving the car. A lot of fun, beautiful little car. Gets a bit warm in summer. Plenty of room in here for such a small vehicle. But you know, yeah, not a daily driver. So that's it for the Gordini. Until next time, hasta mañana.